Hey, what's up guys? I'm Shaylin, the founder and guitar instructor at Worship Online. Since we launched our vocal tutorials, we've got a ton of great feedback from you guys, and we thought what better way to introduce you to our vocal instructors than to ask them a series of random questions that they aren't expecting. So without further ado, let's get Anna and Thomas in here and let's ask them some questions. First things first, why don't you introduce yourself?
I'm Anna Golden, and I like cats and leading worship, and yeah, that's something about me. I guess it's like one thing about me.
Yeah, I'm Thomas Daniel, and I like cats are cool. Leading worship's great. It's really great. I'm just kidding.
Leading worship is great. So what is your experience singing and leading worship?
I've been singing my whole life, and I started leading worship when I was about 12, which is pretty young. And when I was 16, I got offered an internship at a pretty large church in St. Louis, and then I became on staff, and I was the head of the worship department, and I worked there for about 2 years, and now I travel and lead worship and write music.
Yeah. I started leading worship when I was 16 years old, and then I attended Oral Roberts University on a music scholarship. I was very, very fortunate and blessed to be able to be a part of worship there. I got to write for the ORU worship album while I was there and lead worship and help oversee and help instruct teams while I was there. I have been traveling with a nonprofit that spreads the gospel in song, and I've been leading worship at different churches over the last 5 years doing that as well.
What's your number one tip for worship leaders?
Pray for humility and wisdom every day. Literally. It's so easy to get wrapped up in the title and the authority and the being on the stage part of it. And I think so many of us have, in our own experiences in churches, been hurt or been jaded or been burned. And I know for me, it's just been, I had a mentor of mine that told me every day, pray for humility. And I just think that the Lord will put you where you need to be at the exact right time, as long as we're constantly praying for humility and direction. So that's my number one. It's nothing musical at all, but if you humble yourself, the Lord will exalt you to where you need to be.
Yeah, I agree with that. Jeremy Riddle was doing he was speaking at Bethel, and he did this quote that really stuck with me. It's one thing to stand on a stage and sing, and it's another to stand on the stage and burn for God. And that's just kind of something that stuck with me. So that beyond everything, that the anointing will cover any crack in our talent that we leave. So when we have God with us, that's just the biggest thing that you can do. So
Absolutely.
What's the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to you while leading worship?
Thomas?
Sure. Thanks, Anna. I'll go first. I one time, certain pairs of pants shouldn't be dried. I was in a hurry.
That's a good quote.
And I had dried a pair of pants that I was supposed to be wearing on a Sunday morning, and my belt pack had fallen into my back pocket, and I needed to retrieve it from my back pocket in order to turn the volume up. And I reached my hand into my back pocket, but the pants were too tight because I had dried them, and my hand got stuck in my back pocket the entire, could not get my hand out of my back pocket for the whole thing. I was the one-handed worship leader, and the Lord was gracious and kind. So
one time I actually did a somersault on the stage. I was in heels, and my pack fell out of my back pocket, and I was trying to do one of those I'm just gonna bend down and do this, but I went in the front because this is my second time dropping it in the same service, and I just kind of did a little roll on the ground and decided, nope, no more, and I walked off stage, and I just left for the service. I was volunteering. I was BGB.
And she's been somersaulting for Christ ever since.
Yeah, gymnastics for God.
If you couldn't sing, what position would you want to be involved in church?
I honestly feel like every other position is so difficult to me. I feel like God has really graced people for different positions. I've tried to be a greeter, got kicked out of that. Parking lot ministry was not for me. I'm just trying to think. I'd probably like to be an usher.
Yeah.
Or someone who does the snacks in the kids ministry.
Yeah, I love food so much that for me, being the communion attendant is just, it's a lot of bread and juice, and I'm about both those
Not
things.
anymore, though, because it's literally we're eating foam.
Yeah.
Can the church stand up?
Right, yeah.
What's the best advice you can give someone who wants to join the worship team?
I think there's two types of people. There's people who like are dying to be on the worship team, and then there's people who are so insecure and afraid of it. And I would say if you're one of those people that feel like deep inside you really know you have a gift and you want to serve, it's not as scary as you think it is, and you should definitely talk to your worship pastor or musician or anyone that you know, because it's, I mean, our whole backgrounds have been in being a part of worship teams, and we've learned so much through it. Yeah, and volunteering. And it's really is a great experience. So my advice is don't be afraid, and you can only grow.
How do you prepare for Sunday mornings?
Like the morning of Sunday morning, I'm listening to the songs, I'm reading my Bible, getting some coffee, putting on makeup. I'm practicing jumping in my shoes. That's a big one that I do on Sunday mornings. But vocal warm-ups, of course. If you see our 5-part series, there's vocal warm-ups in there. Those are really essential.
Definitely. You don't want to blow your voice out in the first 3 seconds of sound check, but
That's
I
not
think
cute.
every worship leader, definitely not. Every worship leader kind of has their own ritual. Like I usually on a Sunday morning, especially if it's early and if I've been traveling, I have a little hot water heater with honey, and I just drink hot water and honey in the morning.
Yeah,
just to wake
coffee's
up.
not good for
I
your
don't like
voice,
coffee.
but
I'm not one of those
I do
people
it.
that's like, it's terrible for you. I just I love the smell of coffee, I just don't like it. So yeah, I drink my hot water with my honey.
A little bit about Tom.
So if you want to take me on a date,
Oh my
don't
gosh!
take me to coffee. JK, obviously, because I'm gonna be alone forever. But
Oh
because I'm like Paul, and I'm celibate for Christ, which some of you might be as well. No, totally kidding. I'm just gonna re-answer my question.
I'm losing my mind.
Sunday mornings, I usually start with just drinking hot water and honey, and then also listening through the songs helps be prepared. And usually, there's a lot. Like there's several services to be prepared for. No, that sounds awful.
Thomas is perfect.
No.
He drinks hot water and
I know,
honey in the
yeah.
morning. And I'm pouring
only drink hot water and
caffeine on
honey.
my vocals.
I'm gonna re-answer this. Let's both re-answer this question. Ask it again.
This is a two-parter.
Weeping and interceding. That's how I start my Sunday morning.
I get my whole team to do a sunrise prayer.
This is a two-parter. Who's your favorite worship artist, and what's your favorite worship song?
My favorite worship artist is at Anna Golden Music, and my
Oh
favorite
my
song
God,
is "Take Me There," because it in fact takes
Oh, you're
me
lying. You're lying.
there.
You're lying.
No, absolutely, hands down, my favorite worship artist is Brooke Fraser. Has been since I was 16 years old. Completely opened my mind to songwriting and how deeply personal and congregational that can be. My favorite song is "None But Jesus" by Brooke Fraser. I love that song. Still sing it all these years later.
Wow. Oh gosh, this is hard. I have it's a tie between so many. I love Tasha Cobbs. I love gospel music. Anything gospel, I get down with that. I love Carrie Job, of course. All of Bethel. I love everything. I love them all.
How did you first get involved in your worship team?
My whole family, they're very musical, and all of my siblings did music, and they always were on the worship teams and stuff. And I was just kind of that kid that was I'm not gonna do what they do. I'm only gonna be involved with animals. I really liked animals. And I refused to be a part of my worship team, actually, until one time, it was after a service, and I think I was 10. I'm saying I refused. I refused for kindergarten to pre-K. Anyway, so my worship leader in our kids zone or whatever came up to me. He's like, "I hear you singing. You sing so loud during worship, and I would love if you would come sing with me." And none of the other kids were allowed to sing, so I was like, "Okay, I'll do it." And then I think when I was 13, I was on my face before God, and He's like, "This is what you're supposed to do."
I got involved in worship for a very petty reason. There was a girl that I liked who was on the worship team.
Classic case.
And then that didn't work out. But the Lord wrecked me, and I have actually been doing worship my whole life ever since.
Talk us through your decision-making process when choosing an outfit for stage.
Ooh, big one.
Yeah.
I am
Totally.
the queen of outfit malfunctions, being requested off of stage because my outfit didn't work. Ladies, when it's too tight, it's too short, there's like a rip. Oh my gosh, one time I ripped my pants on the way to church. That was a fun one. But how I decide is I typically get a second opinion, and especially if I'm going to like a church that I haven't been to before, I'll like send a picture to like a girl on staff and I'm like, hey, does this work with you guys' like outfits? I mean, I try to like be respectful with whatever house I'm going to, but make sure like if it's a really high stage, I never do anything that like you can see up under it. I'm always like have pants on and whatever. I never wear like just like a dress on stage, but that's just me personally. Yeah, I mean, my decision making, it takes really long, honestly. It's like a very long process. I pray. I'm like jumping up and down. I'm lifting my hands. I'm like shaking. I'm like making sure. Also, this little tip, I don't care how skinny you are, Spanx for like worship leaders is like the best possible thing. Nothing
Clutch.
shakes. You put your pack in there, it just keeps it on. It's great. You feel invincible. But don't get them too tight because then you'll run out of breath. I did that once and almost passed out on stage. I was trying to double up, you know what I mean?
I think you've covered everything, and I do. We go through very similar mental processes.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
Literally, my question is, what fits? So, that's.
Do you prefer in-ears or floor monitors, and how do you like your mixes?
I personally like both. I don't recommend it. I mean, a lot of people don't recommend this, but I actually like to keep one of my ears out, and I like to hear what's going on in the monitors in the house, and then also having just like a pipeline in my mix of just like click, myself, keys, and then I can hear literally everything else like in the live room.
Yeah, I think it depends a lot on the size of the room that you're in. For me personally, if I'm in a smaller room, I'd rather just use floor wedges
Definitely.
and hear the volume of what's happening. But I do have it down to like a science at this point with an Avion mix if I'm out of a church that has in-ear monitoring systems, where like I literally know how every single thing is going to be panned, and it's pretty foolproof for me anyway. So
Yeah.
In your opinion, what's the best way to introduce a new song?
Good
You
question.
wanna go first?
Yeah, I feel like I feel like this is Anna's questions featuring Thomas.
If I'm going to introduce a new song, I would definitely recommend doing it 2 weeks in a row consecutively.
Great.
And definitely make sure you're not doing like a ton of ad-libbing, like sing the melody. Like teach, as if you're going to teach someone on your team how to sing a specific part. That's how I personally would view teaching a song, because you're teaching the song to your congregation. But I think that familiarity is such a big thing. I think so many worship leaders make the mistake of, I want to do a new song, and they do it once and they're like, oh, maybe it didn't go over how they had hoped.
Yeah,
and then they never do it
definitely.
again. But people learn through repetition. So I would definitely recommend, if you're really serious about doing a new song, get it into your regular rotation of songs. Make sure you do it 2 weeks in a row right from the beginning, and then try and keep it cycling in every month.
Yeah, and I would say never introduce more than 2 songs a month.
Yeah.
Working for a church, that was something we tried to do, introducing 3 new songs a month. In the 4th week, we repeated stuff, and it really was a disconnect with the congregation.
Right.
Also, if you know what song you want to introduce, maybe if you have a playlist playing before your service when people are walking in, or you like playing music videos, play that song. It'll get into their head subconsciously, and they'll be able to like, oh, I know that song in my subconscious because I've been hearing it for the past couple weeks. So that's also just like really good little tips to make sure that people aren't going crazy over your new songs.
Are there any resources you suggest for worship leaders?
Yeah, definitely. Of course, Worship Online. Honestly, in all honesty, when I was full-time staff at a church, we would have to record ourselves, all of the vocal parts each week, and it was like a big struggle with leadership because they're like, you gotta make sure you're getting these out, and we're like, oh my gosh, we're trying. It takes up so much time with all that you're doing. It ends up being like a whole position on staff at a church. So if I would have had the Worship Online vocal tutorials, that would have helped immensely. Also, like Planning Center, that's a great one that
Totally.
most people are using. And just for like worship leaders and singers too, Worship U, which is
Yeah.
like Worship University. You can buy an online membership. I bought a membership there for my whole team, and we would play them at our team nights every month, like different sermons from different worship leaders, and that's really helping like grow you spiritually and not just like talent-wise.
What do you do if the audience isn't responding to a song?
Keep going, and
Don't stop.
you can't just stop worship, but not usually, there's always a reason for that. And I think it's worth just having time after your service, even if you just have like your pastor or your team kind of like debrief it and say like, why do we feel like this didn't go over successfully? Was it something, were we not prepared? Maybe sometimes you didn't realize. I've been out there plenty of times laying my life down on the line.
Yeah.
And there's no words on the screen at all. And people just don't know what song we're singing. So it's important just to not take everything very personally, but be very, very realistic in realizing that there's most likely a reason or a series of reasons that that's happening, and to just kind of discuss it and go over it.
Yeah. And not every song works for every house.
Very true. Very true.
Do you have any tips for running a smooth sound check?
I think that more fun can happen after sound check than can happen during. So it's important to have a system that works. So for me, the bands that I lead, we have a line check. You start with drums, go all the way around. Sound check is a really great way to start the day off on the same page as your sound engineer. So if you are respectful in your sound check to your sound engineer is gonna like you and be more cooperative. So for me, I do a line check each instrument. I'm definitely a stickler on no one playing during line check or during sound check. No noodling, no anything. So start with drums, then go to bass, guitar, acoustic guitar, keys, line check each of the vocals, and then we'll do, once the sound engineer is ready and all of the instrument lines are going good and the vocals are good, then we'll sound check one big chorus together. That's a chance for all of us to get our mixes going right, if we need anything changing in the floor monitors or in your Aviom to make that change, and then you can run through your rehearsal or your sound check really efficiently, and then have all of the fun in the world.
What's something you've learned that you wish you would have known when you first started?
It's okay to admit that you don't know what you're doing.
That's a good one.
Like, especially when you're younger, you feel so much pressure to, especially like with, people get so weird over titles. They completely act like they're not even a human being to live up to a title. And I think it's so important. That's why some of the things that Anna had went over with resources, enroll in Worship U. Worship Online is a phenomenal resource that I wish I would have had when I was leading my home church worship team when I was 17, 18, before I went to college, and even throughout. But being able to admit, hey, I don't know what I'm doing right now, is the fastest way to be able to learn how to grow.
Yeah, that's true.
And I unfortunately, I feel like I all too often see people who end up being stunted in their calling or where they want to grow to, because they can't just be honest about the fact that they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, I would say the thing that I wish I would have known at the beginning was mistakes are okay. Especially I've seen in a lot of churches, but it's kind of sad that you kind of get really intense over the mistakes and you miss out on all the stuff. How many times I left the stage and was so down on myself about simple little mistakes, even if it was a big mistake. God sees our worship and He is in love with us, and beyond all of that. And one time I remember one of our team members saying that she was really nervous and she would get like really hard on herself when she sang the wrong part because she felt like she was disappointing God. And I was like, we just need to stop. Like, that is not at all how this works. Mistakes are covered by Jesus, and we get better and we learn and we grow through that. But just not being so hard on myself for the mistakes and not being hard on team members. That at the end of the day, God is pleased with our worship, and if it's from our hearts, then it's really pleasing.
Absolutely. I used to get so, like, it's like you're saying, I would mess up one word and all I would remember is the one word that I messed up and not the 400 words that I sang perfect. And I used to have this mindset that if I make mistakes, like, then God's gonna have to move in spite of me. And it's really a flawed theology, because God isn't moving because of us. God is moving because He loves us. And He's gonna move regardless of if you sing well or if you don't sing well, or if you lead well, or if people know the songs or if they don't know the songs. We're here to encounter the Lord, and the Lord wants to encounter us. And I think when I was younger, even when I was in some bigger positions, I think it's easy as a worship leader to think that, like, we are responsible for what God is doing.
Yeah.
And we're responsible to our congregation to be faithful and to serve with humility and with wisdom. But ultimately, God is going to do what God wants to do, which is love on His children.
Yeah, that's true. That's good. Good word.
Thanks, Anna.
As a worship leader, do you have any pet peeves?
Oh, here's something that's kind of funny. When I first started leading worship, I did this nervous motion where I would step up and I would step back. And thank God I broke that, but all of the people that I then learned, like that I taught under me, now do that to this day. So I was like, I see that as like a pet peeve. I'm like, oh my gosh, why did I have to start that? What did I do? That's something that gets on me. Pet peeve. Oh, when people like whisper talk in worship, that's just another thing. Like, yes. Anyway, that might be too much, but
When people sing songs that they shouldn't be singing. Sometimes.
yeah, sing songs that that flatter your gift.
Yeah, totally. It's kind of like getting dressed. You want to pick clothes that are
Don't make you look
supportive
like a little sausage.
of you. Yes.
Yeah.
Pick songs that play to your strengths.
Here's a tip.
Yeah.
The best singers know when a song does not flatter their gift.
Absolutely.
Like when to say, hey, this song doesn't work for me, or this key doesn't work for me. Don't be scared to tell them, I cannot sing forever in G flat. Can we move it to F?
Wisdom.
When you're not leading worship, what other kind of things do you like to do for fun?
I love fun. Thomas works all the time.
That actually is very sad and very true. I wish I didn't. You know what? If I love me some nothing. I can do nothing. With the rare times that I don't have to be at work, I literally love just like sitting on the couch with the window open and like
What a scenic moment.
reading. I'm reading through the Hunger Games right now because I'm a 12-year-old girl. But it's really great.
For fun, I like to just hang out. I have a cat. His name is Vern, and we hang out. We go on walks. He's leash trained. I love to eat.
Yeah, eating is.
Obviously. I'm very well nourished.
That's awful.
Preparing for the
Stop.
apocalypse.
All right, that wraps up the questions. Do you have any final words?
No, but Anna and I are very, very happy to and honored that Shayla would have us be a part of the vocals here. So don't be a stranger. If you have any questions about anything, connect with the Worship Online Instagram. We're on Snapchat so you can see what we're up to every single day. And we would love to connect with you and help answer any questions that you may have, or even just share a funny story with us. If you have something embarrassing that happened to you that will make us feel better about our embarrassing stories, don't be selfish. Please share those with us, because really we've all been going through the same things, and we're here just to connect and to learn together.